Hello YouTube! I've gotten dressed up for you today because there's no other reason to get dressed up anymore. Hi friends, I'm Coley, this is Sweet Peaches Nutrition, and welcome to the new year. A long time no see. I hate the holiday season every year because things get too crazy. And then in January I just breathe a sigh of relief. But we're back to making videos. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Today, what are we talking about? Let's discuss what I store in my pantry, in my fridge, in my freezer, basically all the time. Because if 2020 taught us anything, it's that we really need to have a couple days worth of food on hand just in case you get sick or the supply chain breaks down. But I'm going to talk about some of the things I keep on hand. One, things that are great to stock up on when they're on sale that you can keep in your freezer or that will last in your pantry. And also what I keep that I know I can make basic meals out of for, if I'm in a pinch and I don't have very many groceries left, or if I just really don't know what to cook and you always need pasta. So let's get into it. Let's start off with the pantry. Let's talk about some of my favorite shelf-stable things to keep on hand. And as I've already mentioned, pasta. I think a lot of people know this, obviously. That's why there was limits on pasta last year. But in specific, I love Banza pasta. It's a gluten-free chickpea pasta, and it is pretty high in protein compared to other pastas, so it actually makes a decent meal even if literally I just cook pasta and put tomato sauce on it. It's not the worst thing I could be eating, and then being able to bulk it up with some other stuff is obviously makes it tastier. Rice and grains will basically keep indefinitely unless something gets into them or you open it up and it really smells rancid and gross. Obviously don't eat it. But I have started buying bags of rice from Costco and storing them in the bottom of my pantry, and then I have a smaller container that I will fill up and then scoop out my rice from there. And it's worked really well because really, if I cook a batch of rice and then I can use up any extra veggies in the fridge, protein, if I have a sauce, then I can make a basic rice bowl and it usually hits the spot. So definitely recommend brown rice, white rice, millet, whatever your grain of choice is to keep on hand. So another big thing is my go-to spices. You can do so much with spices if you don't have a lot of fresh vegetables on hand in terms of making flavor. So onion and garlic powder. Always need onion and garlic powder, and if you don't want to chop onions and garlic, or like I said, you don't have any, adding those in isn't going to be the same, but it will still give you similar flavors and allow you to build sauces and make flavorful food with a few shelf-stable ingredients. Others on my list are definitely smoked paprika, cumin, mustard powder I use a lot, dried herbs like an Italian blend, or some thyme, oregano, rosemary, whatever you reach for. Curry powder is great. I also use a lot of nutritional yeast, so I like to keep that on hand. And yeah, so if you don't have a lot of space, definitely go for blends. So you can maximize your oomph. So like I said, an Italian spice blend, a garam masala, a curry powder, a chili powder, things like that, so that you have different flavor combos if you don't have a ton of space. Another one is canned beans. Now I know you can make your own beans dried. Honestly, I'm kind of lazy. I haven't really fully delved into the realm of cooking my own beans because it takes planning, and sometimes I do not plan ahead. So I love to keep canned beans on hand. Often I would like black beans and chickpeas on hand at all times. So again, cans, you can keep them, they last for years, and then you always know you have them and they're ready to use. All you have to do is rinse them and go. So for me, canned beans work best, but if you have your life put together more than I do and you are cooking beans from dried, you can definitely save more money and then probably store more beans as well too. Another thing that I love to have in my pantry is canned tomatoes. Again, super versatile, and you can make your own pasta sauce from canned tomatoes and it tastes so good. So this is another one that was good to have on hand when pasta sauce was hard to find. You could still usually find canned tomatoes, and it's a few extra steps, but you can make your own sauce. If you're not feeling that brave, that's cool. Get some jars of pasta sauce to have on hand as well, because you can always doctor them up by sauteing some onions and garlic and then pouring it in your sauce. So those are all shelf stable, for years ingredients. And then 2 fresh ingredients that will last a long time if they are stored correctly are onions and potatoes. So onions, if they are stored in a cool, dark place, will last for a while, especially if they, they're either going to go bad in the first week or so because they have mold on them already, or they're going to last. And so just keep an eye on them. And obviously, if you see one that's going bad, take it out so that it doesn't infect the others. But onions will last for a while. If they start to sprout, they are still okay to eat. They're not dangerous to eat. Sometimes the sprouting bits are a little more bitter, so you might want to pull them out, and it might change the flavor of your onion a little bit, but again, it's not dangerous. You can just cut them out. And another thing to note about onions is that the longer they sit around, the more pungent they will get, and they will make your eyes water more, especially if you're more susceptible to that. And there is no trick that will make it not happen. Sorry. You can literally wear goggles because that will keep the chemical out of your eyes, if that's something that really bothers you. And the tip is to have a sharp knife so that you're not destroying it as much, and to use a fresh onion. So the older they get, the more they will hurt your eyes, but again, not dangerous to eat. My other favorite vegetable to keep on hand is potatoes. Again, if they're stored in a cool, dark place, they will last over a month. I got a bag where the inside of the bag was lined with black so no light could get through, which is brilliant. I don't know why they're not all made like that. And they lasted for forever. So signs for a potato you want to look for. If it gets eyes, again, it's not bad. It's not dangerous to eat. You can just pick out the eyes and it's fine. If they're really soft, toss them. If they have obvious brown spots and you cut into them and they look gross, toss them. If they smell, obviously they're bad, but they should last for a while. And again, just because they start to sprout and get eyes doesn't mean they're bad or dangerous. Just scoop them out and you should be good to go. Alright, now let's move on to the fridge. What do I keep in my fridge? Obviously, this is the place where things will go bad the quickest. And, it's hard to stock up on things like fresh fruits and vegetables because they're fresh. They'll go bad. But a few things that I have to have in my fridge at all times. Number 1 being soy sauce. A good gluten-free tamari is a must because, again, if I have rice and soy sauce and egg, I can make myself a decently tasty and filling meal. Also, someone who cooks vegetarian meals, soy sauce is great to have on hand to up your umami in your dishes and also give some saltiness. So it's a great sauce on its own and also ingredient in vegetarian cooking. Another thing that I love to have on hand is a teriyaki sauce, maybe a salad dressing like an Italian dressing or a balsamic vinaigrette, something like that where, again, you can just add it to a dish and bring a lot of flavor. Salsa is another one. If I have a rice bowl with some salsa and a few vegetables that I have on hand, I've got myself a meal. So whatever your favorite sauces are that will always taste good to you on random assortments of vegetables, it's always good to have on hand. Another one that I always like to keep on hand, either in the fridge or in the pantry, depending on if it's shelf stable, is vegetable broth. So vegetable broth is a base of a lot of, obviously, soups and other dishes, and while often you can substitute in water, vegetable broth is going to bring in more flavor. So for example, if I'm making a risotto, if I use vegetable broth, the rice itself is going to be more flavorful and tastier. So if I buy it in cartons at the store, it's usually shelf stable and I can keep it in my pantry for a year upwards. if I make it from scratch, which I will link the blog post below where I talk about all about how to do that, it'll keep in jars in the fridge for, I'd say, about a month. And finally, you can keep a vegetable broth concentrate in your fridge. That is great for, like, in case of emergencies and you really need vegetable broth. I will link that below as well because it's super cool. It's better than bouillon, but instead of cubes, it's in a little jar, and they make vegan ones, and they're really easy to use and don't take up a lot of space in your fridge. And then finally, another ingredient that will last basically forever in the fridge and is great to incorporate into recipes is miso. Miso is a fermented soy paste, and again, it just adds so much flavor to basic recipes, and so I will use this when I'm making ramen. So if I put some water in a pot, make some ramen noodles, and mix in miso, soy sauce, some curry powder, some spices, then I have a basic ramen that is flavorful and delicious. And then again, if you have any extra veggies on hand, you can throw them in as well. So miso is a great tool to have, and basically similarly to the vegetable broth concentrate, you can mix into water and make yourself a nice savory broth. And then finally, what I keep in my freezer. So if you have a decent amount of freezer space, there are so many things you can freeze, and it will just make your life so much easier to know that you have them as like a break in case of emergency. And it also, if you have freezer space, it allows you to shop sales. So I definitely try to look out for like things like meat substitutes when they're on sale. So like Beyond Sausage, Now Impossible sells stuff, Corn, and what is the other one? Pure Land Farm? I can never remember. Whatever, they're all in the frozen section of the store anyway, and so if they're on sale, I like to grab a couple if my stock is running low, because I know it's always something that I can eat, and I kind of keep tabs on, like, okay, I have some burgers that I could make, some corn, like chicken pieces, things like that are always good to have, and that being able to store them in the freezer for, a year. Like, you can store stuff for a while. You just want to keep an eye on it and make sure it's not getting freezer burnt, but like, you can keep stuff for a long time. So going along with that is tofu. Tofu freezes great. And in fact, I think that the texture is better once you have frozen and thawed tofu. I think it gets less spongy. So that's another thing that's super easy to buy an extra block when it's on sale or when you're at the store and keep in your freezer so you don't have to worry about it going bad. And then whenever you're ready for cooking some tofu, you can just pull it up and defrost it. If you use butter keeps in the freezer like indefinitely. It's amazing. So, and also plant butter as well. So I have kept regular butter. We like to use Kerrygold because it tastes really good and it's great for baking, and it is not cheap. So we get ours at Costco, but also again, if you saw it on sale somewhere, you could stock up and keep it in your freezer. And I've also gotten plant butter. I've tried the Flora butter and it's really nice. And that has kept well in the freezer and defrosted fine as well. So it's another like stock up item. Mixed vegetables. At the beginning of the pandemic, I bought a giant bag of like stir fry veggies from Costco just in case. And they're so easy. It is so easy. Like, find a mix that you like. Like, this one had green beans, broccoli, carrots, mushrooms, onions, water chestnuts, and like, it's just so easy because you can take out however much you want to eat. It's a really great way to eat your vegetables and not have to worry about them going bad, because especially like if you live alone or if you're like cooking for two, sometimes it can be really hard. Like, if you buy a big thing of one vegetable and then you're trying to eat it before it goes bad and then you get sick of it, and like, this is a really nice way to get variety and not have to worry about it going bad. So that's great to keep on hand. And again, these things last basically indefinitely unless they get freezer burnt or don't get like sealed properly. Going along with that is frozen fruit. Frozen fruit is great to have on hand. You can either pick things that you like to eat frozen or things that you might add to like a smoothie or whatever. You're not really going to be able to thaw it very easily. So like, for me, I really like eating frozen grapes and frozen blueberries. So sometimes I will buy those when they're in season or on sale and just have them on hand to like snack on frozen grapes, especially in the summer or again, to make smoothies. So this is a great way to freeze things when they're in season. So like if you go to a farmer's market or something and you're able to get like really good strawberries, then if you freeze them, they will be at their peak freshness for you to use a couple weeks later when you're making smoothies or whatever. And finally, bread products. We keep like all of our breads in the freezer, and it's just so easy to always know, like, okay, I know I have a backup of something if I just want to make like a basic grilled cheese or sandwich or something. So definitely at the beginning of the pandemic, when I was a little worried about like what the state of gluten-free food would be, like if things really got bad, like would people start to buy the gluten-free bread because that's all that was left, or like would stores stop stocking it because it was more important to stock other breads. So we definitely had a bit of a backstock of our Udi's bread, and that we've now worked through, but I always like to have an extra loaf of bread. It's also great if you do your shopping like once every 3 weeks and you want to get a lot of bread products, but you're afraid of them going bad. I've done that as well, like stocked up on bread and bagels and tortillas, and then decide like, okay, well I think I want to eat bagels this week, so I'll freeze the tortillas and then pull them out in 2 weeks when things are getting slim and I don't know what to eat. So it's a great way to extend how long you have to go to the store again and have some like emergency supplies. And yeah, tortillas. The Mission gluten-free tortillas are really good. They taste like what I remember flour tortillas tasting like. They freeze perfect. They don't get sticky or gummy, and then you just pull them out, defrost them. Another one is soy chorizo. Trader Joe's soy chorizo freezes brilliantly. You just throw the whole package in and then pull it out into the fridge to defrost. And like that's another thing that's great to have on hand because it's full of flavor and gives you some protein. So like if I can make a quesadilla with black beans and soy chorizo, got a little salsa, it's a delicious dinner. So those are some of the things that I like to keep on hand so that I always know I can make things like a pasta dish or ramen or stir fry with rice and soy sauce, like I said, a quesadilla, just basic things that like when I feel very uninspired or I'm getting to the end of my groceries before my next trip, I always know I have something that is easy and delicious that I can make. So let me know in the comments below what you love to keep on hand and what is like your go-to meal if you don't know what to make. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.